President of Bolivia, Luis Arce Catacora, expressed his willingness to design a lithium policy together with other Latin American countries that will benefit their economies and protect them from interventionism from the U.S. The 28th Ibero-American Summit of Head of States and Government opens on Friday in Santo Domingo, the Dominican Republic, with leaders from Latin America, the Caribbean, Spain, Portugal, and Andorra. Protests have broken out in Lebanon once again in response to the country's deteriorating economy and the dramatic devaluation of the Lebanese pound. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Ana Marrero from the teleSUR headquarters in Caracas, Venezuela. We begin with the news. Stay with us. The President of Bolivia, Luis Arce Catacora, expressed his willingness to design a lithium policy together with other Latin American countries that will benefit their economies and protect them from interventionism from the U.S. The Bolivian head of state highlighted that moving in the market in a sovereign manner with prices that benefit the economies of all Latin American countries should be an objective that unites the region. President Arce expressed his support for creating an organization similar to the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, but for lithium, an idea first suggested by his Mexican counterpart, Luis Andrés Manuel López Obrador. The Bolivian senior official warned he does not want lithium to attract the interests of the U.S. Southern Command and become a factor of destabilization in the country and the region. This is estimated that Bolivia owns 21 million tons of unexplained lithium resources, that largest amount in the world. U.S. President Joe Biden arrived in Canada on Thursday to hold talks with the Premier Justin Trudeau on several global challenges. The war in Ukraine, climate change, the trade, migration, and China promising in geopolitics. Both countries agreed to speed up their timetable for a military upgrade to the North American Airspace Defense Bipartisan Command, known as NORAD, and update rules on migrants seeking asylum, according to the U.S. and Canadian officials. The migration agreement eliminates a loophole in existing rules and will allow Washington and Ottawa to reject asylum seekers at their common borders. That legal void allows thousands of migrants to cross into Canada from the U.S. each year through an unofficial checkpoint, allowing them to stay in the country while applying for asylum rather than allowing the process to take place while they are in the U.S. soil. Social and political organizations gathered this Friday in the main cities of Argentina to mark the National Day of Remembrance from the Truth and Justice. Thousands of people marched all over the country to commemorate the 47th anniversary of the military coup that removed Evo Perón from power and imposed the last and most brutal civil military dictatorship in the country from 1976 to 1983. Citizens demand a continuity of court trials against those responsible for the crimes committed during those years, which resulted in more than 30,000 people arrested, tortured, murdered, and forcibly missing. International organizations announced their assistance to the event this Friday during the last days of the Third World Forum of Human Rights held in Buenos Aires, where more than 21,000 people from 98 countries participated. In the U.S., a Republican representative from Florida, Maria Elvira Salazar, questioned Secretary of State Antony Blinken about the operation of an alleged Chinese military satellite station in Argentina, calling the existence of such a facility as really scary. During a hearing before the House Foreign Affairs Committee on Thursday, Salazar said he has She asked Blinken's eye last month about the facility, who said he had never heard of it. In the matter, Blinken claimed he did not hold his current post in 2019, and them stressed that Washington is focused on the entire world, including the Western Hemisphere. teleSUR's remarks are part of the U.S. information war against China and Russia, seeking to provoke a confrontation between both countries, and which has been denounced by the chancellery of those nations. And in the Dominican Republic, the 28th Ibero-American Summit of Head of States and Government will be inaugurated on Friday night with the presence of leaders from Latin America and the Caribbean, together with others from Spain, Portugal, and Andorra. The participants are set to meet under the slogan "Together for a Fair and Sustainable Ibero-America." The opening ceremony is scheduled to take place at the historic Santo Domingo fortress in the colonial zone, followed by a dinner hosted by Dominican President Luis Abinader for the head of states, delegations, and guests. The conclave session will begin on Saturday at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs Convention Center, where the heads of states and governments will address and approve the Declaration of Santo Domingo. The document will integrate the main issues of interest for Ibero-America. On Friday, the activities planned prior to the graded event will continue, including the meeting of foreign ministers at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. On Friday, Brazil's former President Dilma Rousseff was unanimously elected as new president of the new development bank of the BRIC Group. Through an official communique, the entity formed by Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa informed that the inauguration of Rousseff, age 75, is scheduled for next week, which will coincide with a visit of President Lula da Silva to China. According to the blog, the former president will have to live in Shanghai to carry out her functions. This financial institution was created in 2015 with the objective of financing important infrastructure projects in developing economies. Let's take a very short break now, but remember, you can now follow us on our TikTok account as teleSUR English, in which you will be able to see news in different formats, news updates, and more. Stay tuned for more news. Welcome back to From the South. More than 1,500 people from 8 towns have been evacuated in the Spanish region of Valencia in the southeast. Unfavorable weather conditions allowed the flames to spread on the north, reaching Aragon, where some towns were also evacuated. So far, the fire have consumed nearly 2,000 hectares of forest. According to local authorities in Valencia, 400 firefighters, rescue workers, and military personnel, 15 planes, seaplanes, and helicopters worked to extinguish the flames. A nearby File hospital was set up, and the Red Cross opened a reception center for evacuees in a gymnasium in the town of Segorbe. As reported by the European Forest Fire Information System, cities, Spain is as the most affected country within the Union during the last summer, when it was hit by some 500 fires that burned over 300,000 hectares of land. In France, the Director General of Civil Aviation on Friday has asked airlines to cancel flights in the coming days due to a strike by air traffic controller against the pension reform imposed by the national government. Most of the airports in France reported delayed in the departure and arrival of multiple flights due to liberalization of activities. On Friday, air traffic was reduced by 30% to match the number of level controllers. Although the strike was only scheduled for Thursday and Friday, the union decided to extend the measure to link it with the national strike plan for March 28 against the pension reform. Friday, shares of German banks such as Deutsche Bank and Commerzbank spiraled down on the Frankfurt Stock Exchange as a result of uncertainty about the sector's solvency and interest rate development. Deutsche Bank shares accumulate a fall of more than 19% in the last 3 days, motivated, according to local specialists, by an increase in German bank 5-year default insurance. Although the governments of Bloc and the European Central Bank itself affirmed that the fall of these shares will not affect European banks, sectors specialists warn that smaller financial structures will be affected. On Sunday, the Swiss bank UBS came to the rescue of its competitors, Credit Suisse, after the latest loss of confidence of investors and rumor of insolvency. At today's summit of the European Union wrap up this Friday in Brussels. The main focus of this second day was the future of relations with Africa. The President of the European Council, Charles Michel, said that in December, an important meeting with the African Union will take place in Brussels to renew the partnership with Africa, a natural alliance for geographical, historical, and cultural reasons. Another topics discussed during this summit were the situation regarding the Nagorno-Karabakh region, Belarus, relations with Russia, the situation in the Eastern Mediterranean, and relations with Turkey, the post-Brexit trade agreement, the coronavirus pandemic, and a way to address climate change. The Chinese government insists on Friday that it is not asking companies to hand over data collected overseas. The Chinese owns TikTok face a growing call for a ban in the U.S. The popular video sharing app owned by Chinese company ByteDance is under the increasing pressure to gain new owners or lost access to the huge U.S. market. In a grueling 5 hours hearing with U.S. lawmakers Thursday, TikTok CEO faced relentless questioning from combative U.S. lawmakers on both sides over the app's ties to China and its danger to teenagers. ByteDance is not owned or controlled by the Chinese government. It is a private company. The CEO of the company told lawmakers in his opening statement, referring to TikTok's parent company based in China. teleSUR English continues to grow. You can now tune in from 33 different African countries through StarSat, dial 461, and you are Latin American alternative broadcast. One final short break and we'll be right back. Welcome back. Protesters have broken out in Lebanon once again in response to the country's deteriorated economy and the dramatic devaluation of the Lebanese pound. Over the last 3 years, the Lebanese pound lost more than 97% of its value against the dollar, and its value further declined by 15% on Tuesday, and now $1 is currently worth 140,000 Lebanese pounds. According to international bodies, 80% of Lebanon's population is living in poverty following the country's economic meltdown in 2019, with the economic crisis further exacerbated by the Port of Beirut explosion in 2020 and general corruption and government mismanagement. The current crisis plunged basic services as electricity supplies and health care as those sectors hurt from lack of supplies. Friday, the government of Iran called on the authorities of France to abandon its interference policy and amend the requirements of its own people. The position was stated by the spokesman of the Iranian Foreign Ministry, Nasser Kanani. The diplomat indicated that the executive in Paris should stop prompting chaos in other countries and attend to the demands of the French people who are still mobilized against the pension reform imposed by the President Emmanuel Macron. Kanani referred to France's roles in instigator of protests in Iran over the death of Masha Amini, allegedly at the hands of the Moro police for not properly wearing her hijab. Back in November, Macron called the Iranian protests as a revolution and said that the crackdown by the Iranian leader will make it harder to reach agreement on reviving the 2015 nuclear deal. Democratic Republic of the Congo President Felix Tshisekedi appointed former militia leader Jean-Pierre Bemba as Minister of Defense in the cabinet reshuffle on Friday as the country grapples with the armed conflict in the east. Bemba, who served as Vice President from 2003 to 2006, had been jailed by the International Criminal Court over crimes committed by rebels under his command, but the court overturned his sentence in 2018. The Democratic Republic of the Congo is struggling to quell an armed rebellion by the M23 insurgency. The Tshisekedi former Chief of Staff, Vital Kamerhe, was appointed as Minister of Economy. The country is due to go to the polls in December. Tshisekedi, who has been in power since January 2019, has said that he will run for re-election. Ramadan is the holiest month in Islam and commemorates the moment when Allah revealed the Quran to the Prophet Muhammad. On Friday, millions of Muslims around the world fast from dawn to dusk during this period. This year, they celebrated between March 23rd and April 21st. During this month, the faithful try to achieve a spiritual achievement with Allah, strengthen their relation with God, and reform selfless and well-intended deeds, as well as refrain from lying, gossiping, or fighting. During this period, Muslims should practice fasting, avoid alcohol, and intercourse from sunrise to sunset. As part of the Ramadan celebration, millions of Afghans began their evening prayers that are seen as a way to repent for sins, to elevate the spirit, and reconnect with family and God. The country faces a spiritual security situation, but Afghans celebrate a holy month full of hope.
The security has improved, and especially security at the mosques has increased. God bless them. I feel very good. We come here from Asar, the morning prayer, until midnight, and work here. We come here safe and our families no worry. They see us through television, so they don't need to worry. God willing. Ramadan is very important for Muslims because when we fast, we are demonstrating our belief in the Almighty. We don't see Him, He sees us. We know it. We don't see Him, but His signs are everywhere for everyone to see. We can see the creative power of the Almighty God in everything in the world. So we know that He is the only uncreated creator of all creatures. So when we fast, we don't eat, we don't drink, although we have food and drink available. We will not touch it, because we are very aware of the Almighty for whom we fast.
So we have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on our socials, we're on Facebook, Twitter, and on Instagram as well. For Telesur English, I'm from the South, I'm Ana Marrero, and thank you for watching.